Lana had always sensed that her fiancé's family wasn't what they appeared to be. From the very first time she met them, there was a subtle coldness, polite yet distant, as if they were assessing her worth. Over the months, she noticed the little things: whispered phone calls that stopped when she entered the room, strange glances exchanged across crowded halls, and sudden shifts in tone whenever the topic of the future came up. Even her fiancé, Alexei, seemed to guard certain conversations, brushing off questions with vague reassurances. On the morning of the wedding, the grand hall was buzzing with activity. Flowers in shades of white and gold lined the aisles, crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the city skyline glimmered in the distance through floor-to-ceiling windows. Lana moved gracefully among the staff and her bridesmaids, adjusting her gown, but her mind was elsewhere. She noticed subtle gestures that only she could read: her mother-in-law's overly calculated smile as she handed her a champagne glass, the way her father-in-law avoided her gaze, and most alarming of all, a figure partially hidden behind the heavy curtains at the far end of the hall, watching her with an intensity that made her stomach churn. Even more unsettling was the presence of someone she thought she would never see again: Alexei's former lover, the woman who had whispered promises and threats in equal measure, now sitting in the audience with a smug sense of entitlement. Lana's heart raced, but she forced herself to breathe deeply, smoothing the nerves with the kind of composure only practiced over months of suspicion and careful observation. She knew this day was supposed to be about love, joy, and new beginnings, yet somewhere beneath the glittering decorations, a storm was quietly gathering, and Lana was ready to meet it head-on. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her bouquet, not from fear of the ceremony, but from the anticipation of the revelations she had meticulously prepared. Every detail mattered: the timing, the witnesses, the evidence she had collected over months. Today, everything would come to light, and Lana understood that nothing in her life, not even the love she felt for Alexei, could remain the same after this day. She wasn't just walking down an aisle, she was stepping into a battlefield, and every eye in the room, from family to strangers, would soon see the truth she had long known. As the ceremony began, the hall seemed to hold its breath. Guests took their seats, unaware of the tension simmering beneath Lana's poised exterior. The music swelled softly, blending with the quiet murmur of anticipation, but Lana's focus was razor-sharp. She scanned the room with calm precision, noting the positions of her in-laws, the curious glances of the guests, and the uncomfortable shifting of Alexei, who tried to mask his unease with a polite smile. She had rehearsed this moment countless times in her mind, but no preparation could replicate the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Hidden in the folds of her bouquet were tiny devices that could display the evidence she had collected: messages, photos, and documents proving the lies, betrayals, and financial manipulations orchestrated by those she once trusted. Each piece of proof was damning, and each was carefully timed to reveal the full story in one stunning sequence. When the officiant paused to ask for vows, Lana felt the weight of the moment. The smiles of the guests, the shimmer of the chandeliers, and the soft sunlight streaming through the windows seemed to fade into the background. She straightened her posture and, in a calm, unwavering voice, addressed the crowd. "Before we continue, I need everyone here to understand the truth," she said, her eyes locking on her mother-in-law and then briefly on the hidden figure of the mistress. With a discreet motion, she activated the display embedded in the grand hall's projection system. Suddenly, the walls came alive with images, screenshots, and financial records, all irrefutably proving the secrets her in-laws had tried to bury. Gasps rippled through the room like a wave. Guests whispered nervously, some clutching their programs, while others stood frozen, unable to look away. Her mother-in-law's composure cracked first, her carefully constructed mask of elegance and control melted into sheer panic. The mistress, seated near the back, realized too late that she had been caught in full view of the elite audience. Lana's heart pounded, but she remained serene, every gesture measured. She had anticipated every reaction, every attempt to deflect blame. The evidence told the story she wanted told: betrayal, greed, and lies, laid bare for all to see. And as the silence fell heavy over the room, Lana felt a surge of vindication. She had seized control, turning a day meant for celebration into a moment of revelation, proving that courage and preparation could overpower deception, no matter how deeply it was hidden. The room was stunned into silence. Every eye was fixed on the glowing display that revealed the truth, and for a moment, even the music seemed to halt in shock. The guests, who had come expecting a picture-perfect wedding, now found themselves witnessing a confrontation they could never have imagined. Murmurs grew louder, blending with gasps and the occasional clatter of a dropped glass as people realized the enormity of what was being shown. Alexei, the billionaire groom, froze in place at the altar. His eyes darted between Lana, his mother, and the woman seated in the back, the former mistress who now looked pale and defenseless. Confusion, betrayal, and an almost imperceptible glimmer of admiration crossed his face. He had always known Lana was intelligent and resourceful, but seeing her orchestrate such a calculated exposure in front of everyone he knew left him momentarily speechless. The mother-in-law, usually so composed, clutched her pearls as her carefully maintained facade crumbled. Her eyes darted to Alexei, silently pleading, yet knowing that no words could erase the damning evidence displayed for all to see. The mistress tried to rise, perhaps to escape or confront Lana, but several guests subtly blocked her path, unwilling to let her disappear without accountability. It was a carefully staged scene, and Lana had ensured there was no room for escape, no possibility for denials. Finally, Alexei stepped forward, his tall frame commanding attention. His voice, when he spoke, was calm but carried the weight of authority and surprise. "I had no idea she knew. This changes everything," he said, his tone measured yet tinged with emotion. He turned to Lana, his eyes locking with hers in a moment of profound acknowledgement. "You didn't just protect yourself, you protected us, our future. I respect your courage more than I can put into words." The tension in the room shifted slightly at his words. Some guests, initially shocked and confused, began to sense the extraordinary bravery behind Lana's actions. Even the mother-in-law's face paled further, now mixed with a realization that her attempts to manipulate and control had failed. Lana felt a mix of relief and triumph, seeing the tide turn. In that instant, the wedding was no longer just a ceremony, it had become a declaration of strength, trust, and the beginning of a bond that could withstand betrayal. Amidst the whispers and the shocked faces, Lana stood tall, unshaken. Alexei approached her, and without a word, offered his hand. She took it, feeling a surge of connection, knowing that this shared moment of truth had solidified a partnership built not just on love, but on mutual respect and courage. The crowd might never forget what had happened that day, but for Lana and Alexei, a new chapter was just beginning, forged in the fire of exposure and honesty. After the chaos of the ceremony, Lana and Alexei slipped away from the stunned crowd, finding solace on the private balcony overlooking the city lights. The cool night air brushed against their faces, carrying with it the distant hum of the metropolis below, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions inside the hall. For a moment, neither spoke, letting the weight of what had just occurred settle between them. Alexei leaned against the railing, eyes still reflecting the disbelief and awe of what Lana had accomplished. "You were incredible," he said quietly, almost to himself. "I've never seen anyone handle a situation like that with such precision. You didn't just expose the lies, you did it with elegance and control." Lana smiled softly, feeling a mixture of relief and lingering adrenaline. "It wasn't just for me," she replied. "It was for us, for our future. I couldn't let deceit and manipulation take root in our lives. Today had to be the turning point." He turned to face her fully, taking her hands in his. His touch was steady, reassuring, and warm. "I knew I loved you before, but today I realized why," he murmured. "You're fearless, brilliant, unshakable. I can't imagine my life with anyone else by my side." Lana felt a rush of emotion she had long held in check, the tension and fear melting into something far more profound: trust, admiration, and love strengthened by shared trials. The city lights twinkled below like a sea of stars, and in that quiet, private moment, it felt as though the world had shrunk to just the two of them. "I've always believed we could face anything together," Lana said, her voice steady but soft. "And now, we've proven it." Alexei pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "Together," he repeated, "no matter what comes next, I trust you. And I'll stand by you, just as you stood for us today." As they held each other, the distant echoes of the shocked crowd faded, leaving only the clarity of a bond forged in courage and honesty. In that moment, Lana and Alexei knew that their love was no longer just romantic, it was unbreakable, resilient, and ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in the world beyond the balcony. The aftermath of the wedding was a whirlwind. Guests slowly filed out of the grand hall, some whispering about the scandal, others openly admiring Lana's courage. The in-laws and the mistress had been humiliated publicly, their carefully constructed reputations shattered in front of the city's elite. Yet amidst the chaos, Lana and Alexei found themselves quietly walking through the now empty corridors of the venue, a rare moment of calm after the storm. The staff were busy cleaning, but Lana barely noticed. Her mind was still racing with the events of the day, the shock on her mother-in-law's face, the disbelief in the mistress's eyes, and most importantly, the pride she saw reflected in Alexei's gaze. Every step she took with him felt lighter than the last, as though the burden of secrecy and deceit had finally been lifted. Alexei reached for her hand, entwining his fingers with hers, a silent affirmation that whatever had happened, they were now united on a foundation stronger than fear or lies. Today was incredible, he said softly, his voice carrying a mixture of awe and tenderness. You didn't just protect yourself, you protected everything we're building together. I've never met anyone like you. Lana felt warmth spread through her chest at his words, the unspoken promise of loyalty and partnership. Enveloping them. It wasn't just about exposing them, she admitted. It was about making sure we start our life together with honesty. No shadows. No secrets. Alexei smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. And that's why I love you. You don't just see the truth, you act on it. You're fearless in ways I never imagined. They paused on the balcony, overlooking the city that shimmered below, feeling a rare peace settle over them. The storm inside the hall had passed, and with it, the threat of manipulation and betrayal. What remained was trust, mutual respect, and a love tempered by courage. As they shared a quiet, lingering embrace, Lana realized that today had not only changed the course of her wedding but also the trajectory of her life. She and Alexei had faced deceit head-on and emerged stronger, bound together by a shared understanding that their partnership was more than love, it was strategy, courage, and unwavering loyalty. The night air carried a sense of possibility. For the first time, Lana felt truly seen and valued, not just as a bride, but as an equal, a partner, and a force to be reckoned with. With Alexei by her side, she knew they could face anything. The city lights flickered below like sparks of promise, and in that luminous glow, their future together felt limitless.